host for this presentation. So just to give you a little bit of my background, I'm an application specialist here at Imagine It. And at Imagine It, I provide training, consulting, as well as occasional technical support for AEC firms in North America. So for this presentation, we are going to be looking at the key benefits and features of BIM 360 document management and touch a little bit on design to help you out with collaborating with your internal organization. So this presentation is geared towards companies or individuals who might not necessarily be hosting BIM 360 projects, but would like to utilize the platform for being able to store your files as well as share, view, and review your working files. So for the different topics that we'll be covering, we'll be looking at BIM 360 as a means of storage that can be accessed by your employees regardless of their location. So we'll be looking at the folder structure in BIM 360. How do we create the folder structure and how do we set permission levels? So we are able to look at the different folders and we can determine who on the team, for example, will be able to view, edit, or have full control over folders inside of our BIM 360 projects. We'll also be looking at the different tools within BIM 360 that you can use for sharing your documents, for viewing the documents. So there is a viewer that is native in BIM 360 that you can use without the need to install any authoring software. And that's for viewing many different file types. We'll also look at the different tools for reviewing the documents. So we have some markup tools, we have issues tools that can be used to review the different documents at the different stages of your projects, as well as some additional reviewing tools. We have, for example, the Compare Documents tool that we can use to see changes made in a document and color-coded, whether these are 2D or 3D formats. We have a reviews tool that we can use to set up internal approval workflows. So let's say within your organization, you have a QA/QC review or a design review. We can use that tool for that purpose. We also have a transmittals tool that can be used to record any documents that have been emailed or shared with others on the team, and that all gets tracked on the BIM 360 platform. And most recently, there is an Insight Reports tool that we can use to generate reports of issues that we create on a specific project. And then lastly, we have a desktop connector, which is your local folder that you can use to more efficiently manage your files on BIM 360. So it's kind of like a local folder that syncs back up to your BIM 360 site. Okay, so we'll be looking at all of those different features. And then as Jana mentioned, at the end of this presentation, we will reserve some time for any questions that you might have. So feel free to put those questions onto the chat panel on your screens. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Okay, so why use BIM 360 for your internal workflows? So one advantage of using the platform is it provides unlimited and centralized storage for all of your project files. So it is unlimited. In case you weren't already aware, this pertains to both Revit and non-Revit files. And it is centralized storage. So if you already have a BIM 360 document management or design seat, you have your own BIM 360 site that you can use to create your different projects for your company. So the image here that you're seeing on the screen on the BIM 360 site, we can create as many projects as we want, and we can invite members, so team members, to those projects. Okay, for this webinar, we're talking specifically about internal workflows. We do have other webinars that touch more in-depth into workflows across different companies or disciplines. Okay, so here we can create the projects, add members to the projects, and then within those projects, we can create the folder structure needed. So when it comes to folder structures on BIM 360, we are able to create a template for a folder structure that can be used for the different projects moving forward so that you don't have to keep recreating this folder structure. So we set up the folder structure, and then within those different folders, we can now set permission levels. So we can decide who on the team is able to just view inside of a folder, who can view, download, and upload, or maybe also edit within a folder. And we can also have team members as full or admins, which means that they would have full control over a folder in the project. So these are the different permission levels, which we'll see when I switch over to BIM 360 here. But before that, so you'll notice in this image here in the middle, we have two main folders. So there is a plans folder and there is a project files folder. For any BIM 360 projects, they will always have those two main folders. And each one of these folders serves a different purpose, which is critical to the workflows within BIM 360. Okay, so for those two folders, any kind of working file, so Revit cloud models, CAD files, Word documents, any working files for your project would need to live in the project files folder. The reason for this is, especially if you're going to be using design collaboration, is that there are certain functions within the project files folder that work for the design collaboration module. Okay, but best practice is, regardless of whether you're using Revit or not, working files would live in the project files folder. The plans folder that you're seeing right here, this one is meant for official sets of documents. And so that would be your permit set, design development sets, and so forth. And the purpose of this is when we go into BIM 360, you'll see that there are functions within the plans folder that only work in that folder. So an example of this would be hyperlinks. We can view files and we can pick on, let's say, an elevation marker, and it will browse to the sheet where that elevation lives, also in the plans folder. Okay, so those would be the two main folders. I'm going to go ahead and switch over here to BIM 360. And what we're looking at right now is the Imagine It BIM 360 Hub. I'm currently on the account admin page. So any account admins for your BIM 360 account have access to this page. And this is where the BIM 360 projects get created. So we can create as many projects as we want on BIM 360. And I will go ahead and browse to one of these projects. And then I will go into this sample project right here. Okay, so right now I am in the sample project on the project admin page. So anyone who is assigned a project admin has access to this page right here. And this is where we can now add members to a specific BIM 360 project. So this is where you would add all of your different employees or staff that are going to be working on this project, and where we also assign what modules in BIM 360 they can use. So if you're using document management, we would be assigning the document management module to the different members of this project. And for those of you who are using Revit and plan on using this platform as storage for your cloud collaboration module or model, you would need to assign the design collaboration module in this column right here to the members that are going to be collaborating on this Revit cloud model. Okay, so we add the members to the project, and then if I go to this module picker up at the top, we have the document management module. This is where our folder structure is set up and where we are able to assign the permission levels for those different folders. So I'll go ahead and switch over to that. And in this specific project, we see that there are folders already set up. This we can set up in a template to be used and assigned to other projects moving forward, so we don't have to recreate the wheel every single time. But within a project, we can always add to these folders. So just an example of that, let's say I want to add one under the project file. So this is where we have our working files. I'll go ahead and select that More Options icon and then hit Add Subfolder, and I can now add another subfolder right here. And this might be okay, so now we create our folders, and as a project admin, we would now set the permission levels for those different folders. So if I go into, let's say this design models folder here that contains folders for the different disciplines, when I hover over that same More Options icon, I see the permissions through this flyout. So when I go to select that, another dialog box or a flyout shows up on the right side, and this is where I can decide who on the team is able to access this folder. And if so, what level of permission are we going to give those members? So you'll see here, if I hover over one of the members here, there is a column for permission level. And the different levels of permission is anywhere from just being able to view, to view and download, upload only, view, download, upload, anyone needing to be able to work on the files inside of the folder would need at least this editing right here. And for any other members that you'd like to give full control, which means that they would be able to access all of the features for that folder, could also have full control of the folder. So these are the different permission levels right here. And that is by folder. So any subfolders that fall under design model, say, automatically inherit the permissions from the folder above. But we can, as we go down into the subfolders, we can increase the permission levels of the members that are given access to this folder. Okay, so that's just a little kind of background on the permission levels. And then let me go ahead and switch back here. Okay, so once we've set up the folders and the permission levels, the team is now ready to work on this BIM 360 project. So the first step would be uploading the different working files to our BIM 360 project. So this could be CAD files, PDF files, cloud Revit models, which is what you're seeing on here. So for those who are using design or have seats of design or are planning on purchasing seats of design, and rather than storing your cloud model on your local network, this can now be pushed or uploaded to BIM 360, which now allows the different team members, regardless of location, to collaborate on this cloud model. Okay, so that's just one example. Other files as well, CAD files, Microsoft files, so we can upload these different file types to our BIM 360 project and be able to access them regardless of location. Okay, so what you're seeing here, aside from uploading files, if we keep file naming the same or consistent, so for Excel files, PDF files, as we are uploading, BIM 360 is keeping a record of all of these different versions. So from the first upload and as we are overriding or uploading the same file. So that's that column for versioning that you're seeing here. So the advantage of this is that it serves us as an archive, but we also know what the most current version of a file is. Okay, and you probably heard this term many times, but it is a single source of truth for the files in our project. Okay, so once we have these files uploaded, we can now share these files with other team members. We can view them. Okay, so we can share by emailing it. So those receiving that email will have a link to that file on BIM 360, and they can sign in and they can automatically view that file. Okay, so if they are a member of the project. Okay. We can also view these files on BIM 360. So we have a browser on BIM 360 native to the platform. So for any team members who aren't necessarily using these different softwares, they're not on Revit, they're not using CAD, they don't have Adobe, for example, they are still able to view these files on BIM 360 using the viewer without needing to install any of those authoring softwares. Okay, so we can view, and aside from viewing, we can also review the documents on BIM 360. So what you're seeing in the image here is a 2D view or a sheet view of a Revit model. This could also be a PDF file, a CAD file, so we can view it on the browser, and we can add markups and issues. So the markups that you're seeing here are the ones in red, these revision clouds, and these yellow dots that you're seeing here are the issues. So we can create markups and issues. Let me switch over here. So the same image here, as we're creating issues and markups, these all get tracked on BIM 360. And as far as issues go, there are several locations on BIM 360 that we can use to track the ones that we've created on this specific project. So one is through this same viewer on the left side here, which we'll see in just a bit. We have the issues tool and we have the markups tool. But aside from this location, on the document manage interface, there's also an issues tab that keeps a running list of all the issues that are getting created on this project. So really, BIM 360 is not just a way to create the issues, but we can now track them for the different projects in one location. Okay, so let me go ahead and switch over here to BIM 360. Okay, so I'm just going to use this file here as an example. This is a Revit model with several versions already. So if I want to be able to view this file on BIM 360, I'll just go ahead and select it. And it opens any published 3D views and 2D views from that Revit model on the browser in BIM 360. So right now we're looking at a 3D view that was published, but we also can publish 2D views. And these are also viewable on BIM 360. Okay, so for those who are using Revit and publishing 3D views, we have the same tools for navigating inside of BIM 360. We also have tools down at the bottom for panning, orbiting, zooming, and so forth. So it looks very similar to Revit. We have our 2D view. So here we can click on this one, for example, and we can see that on this specific sheet, there are already issues and markups that were created. Okay, so for issues and markups, the tools for creating those on BIM 360 on the left side, we have the issues tool right here, and then we have the markups tool right above. So as you can see for the issues, it tracks all of the different issues that are being created on this sheet, and we can select it from that list, view the information on that issue. We can add attachments to it, and we can track all the activity on that issue. So let me navigate back here. So that's one of the issues, and we can continue clicking and we can start reviewing them through here. That is one location for tracking and reviewing the issues. We'll see another one in just a bit here. But before I switch back to document management, we also have the markups tool at the very top of this sidebar here. And you'll see that it also tracks all of the different markups that are created on this specific view. So we can pick those line items and it will browse to them, and we can review all of the markups on this document. Okay, so this is one sheet. We can go to other sheets, create issues, create markups. We also can view the different versions of this same model that was published to BIM 360. So the fourth one on here on the sidebar is a history. So if I click on that, we see all of the different versions from the first upload of this model all the way up to the last. So in a sense, it's an archive. It records all of these different versions. I can pick on an older version right here and see the 3D view and any 2D views that were published with that version. And at any point, I can also download this version of this file. Okay, so that's the versioning on the browser. If I close out of this, so on the top right, it takes me right back to document management. Any of those issues created also show up on the Issues tab in the interface. So if I click on this, that same list of issues shows up here, and I can click on these and it will open the issue, and I see the same information, the same attachments, and the activity as well. Okay, so this is great for internal workflows because you can publish documents, you can review them, mark them up, create your issues, and the team can track and manage those issues through just this interface right here. For the issues, we also have a filtering tool on the top left. So if you're part of the team and you want to maybe just see issues that were assigned to you, you can start to filter this list, and now you're only seeing the issues that were assigned to you specifically. Yeah, so that is the Issues tool. Okay, so let me navigate back here. So for reviewing documents, we have some other tools that we can use on BIM 360. So if you have published 3D views or 2D views, there is a compare documents tool that allows us to visually see any changes that were made between one version of a document and another version. So the dialog box looks like what you're seeing here on this PowerPoint. We can say I want to compare, for example, version 5 and version 3 of this specific 3D view. Could be 2D view as well. So once we hit the compare button for a 2D view, it will look like this, where you'll see color-coded any changes made. So anything added in green, anything removed or deleted in red, and anything just modified in yellow. And for 3D views as well, it will color-code it by elements added, removed, or modified, and we can pick from the tree here down at the bottom, and it will highlight where that object is, and we can see what changes were made. Okay, so we'll see this on BIM 360 as well in just a minute. We also have a reviews tool. So in your organization, if you have certain approval workflows set up, let's say you have someone who is assigned to do all of the QA, QC reviews for documents or specs, or you have an internal design review where you have someone assigned to review all the documents for design. We can create approval workflows on BIM 360 to track these workflows for the team. Okay, so you'll see on the left side there are different options for creating workflows. You'll see here 1 step to it actually goes up to a 6 step, and we can also do group reviews or group approval workflows. So the 1 step that you're seeing here as an example, let's say you have one person that is reviewing all the documents for design. We can create a 1 step, which means that we can pick a document on BIM 360, use that workflow, and that individual that needs to review it will get an email that they have documents they need to review. They would view and review these on BIM 360 and go through that process, and that all gets tracked as well on BIM 360. And then we also have a transmittals tool that we can use to send documents to others on the team. The beauty about this is that rather than sending a document as an attachment to an email, we can upload the document, already have it stored in document management, and we can send it and track it through BIM 360. So in this manner, if we need to go back and see if we've sent anything, we don't have to go digging through our emails. We go to the transmittals tab and we can see everything that's been sent and recorded. And then we also have the Insight module on BIM 360. So this is fairly new, but we're now able to create reports of any issues. And if you're using the RFI feature on BIM 360, which is part of a different module, we can also create reports of RFIs. So when we are generating reports on BIM 360, they also all get tracked on the platform, and we are able to export these out as PDFs, and I believe more recently Excel files as well. So in a similar format as what you're seeing on the right side here. So you can use it for review, but you can also use it if you need to, let's say, archive the issues that you're creating on BIM 360. And then lastly, we have the desktop connector. So the desktop connector is a local folder. Each user would need to install this, and this is what a folder that syncs back up to BIM 360. So you can use it for file management. Once you have your BIM 360 projects and the folder structures, you can drag and drop files using the desktop connector. However, I do want to mention if you are going to be collaborating on a Revit cloud model, that cloud model does need to get uploaded from within the Revit interface and not dragged and dropped into this desktop connector. So we do have other webinars that touch more in detail for that workflow, and we have training options as well if you decide to go that route. Okay, so let me go ahead and switch over here to 360 so that we can see those other tools. So let me go back to the folders tab here. I'm going to use that same file, so the architectural model. But this works just as well for CAD files, PDF files as well. So here we're looking at a 3D view and the compare documents tool. So down at the very bottom right here. So when I go to select this, we can choose what document and what versions of that document we want to compare. So here I'm seeing the 3D view for version 13, and maybe I want to go even farther back and compare that to version 5 of the same 3D view, and then I would hit compare. So what it does is, in this specific model, it's going through all the different elements, and we are able to see color-coded any elements that were added, removed, so it doesn't look like it might be hidden right there, and we have anything modified as well. So we can start to filter. Let me um, filter out everything that was modified and just zoom in. So as we're looking at the elements that were changed, we also see these listed down at the bottom. So I can pick a line item here, and this dialog box here pops up, and I can look at what actually changed for this wall as an example. So in version 13, you'll see the door was there. In version 5, it was originally in that location. So we can start to uh, kind of audit and see all of the different elements, see if we made the changes or the changes were made that were supposed to be made in a specific document. This could be done regardless of location, since we are looking at it in the browser on BIM 360. Okay, so after we've compared, so I'm going to go ahead and exit down here. Okay, we can do the same thing on a 2D view. So I'll do the same two versions right here. And you'll see the same elements color-coded as well. All right, so aside from that, there is also, and this wasn't on the PowerPoint, but there's also a split view mode. Let me do this actually. So we've seen a Revit model. Let me switch to a CAD file here. Okay, so this campus site model has two versions. So let's say we want to look at what changed between those two versions. There is also the split view mode. So I'm going to compare version 2 and 1 of the same 2D view. Compare it, and down at the bottom, so there is a split or side by side right here. A line will show up in the middle, and we can now do this and hold down and drag and see what changed between two versions. So that's another great feature there. You can now see how things line up as well. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the viewer here. So that is the Compare Documents tool. The other tabs at the top, so there is a Reviews tab. So any internal workflows, so some examples that you'll see here are code reviews, design reviews. We can start to set up these workflows. So project admins can set up these workflows, and that can then be used by the team. So just an example of that, if I go here to the module picker and I go to project admin, as a project admin, I can create as many workflows as needed for the project. So I'll go to reviews. Okay, and then if I hit create approval workflow right here, this is where we can select how many steps this review needs to go through. Okay, so I'm just going to pick one step here, but you'll see it goes all the way up to a 6-step, and then there's also group approvals. In this case, for example, several team members reviewing initially and one person doing the final review and approval. Okay, so I would hit next, and then this is where we input what kind of review it is, who gets to initiate that kind of review. So when we go to select a document, an initiator can send that document for review. The next section down are the different statuses that the reviewer can assign to that document. So whether it's approved, rejected, approved with comments. And actually one line item here. So here we assign who that reviewer and approver is, and we can also assign the number of calendar days that we are allotting for that review. And then we would hit save. So just an example of that, if I pick one of the ones that are already on here, let's say the design review. So it's a design review. It's for internal design review. This individual can initiate that review, and then we have several team members that this review would need to go through before final approval. Okay, so that would be the reviews tool. We also have the transmittals tool. Switch back here. And the last tab at the top is transmittals. So this is where we can track any documents that were sent to others on the team. Okay, so if I go back to the folders, if we pick any document, let's say it's specifications, we can select the document. We have several tools at the top. Towards the right side, this is where we have the submit for review. If we're submitting for review, this is where we can pick which approval workflow we want to use for this document. Okay, and right next to it is the create transmittal. Okay, so when I go to select create transmittal, we can give it a title, automatically takes on the folder name. We can pick who to send it to on the team. And then we can see what documents we're about to send, and we can add a message to that email. Okay, so the email will have a link to the document for viewing. But once we create the transmittal, that all gets tracked through the transmittals tab. So it's the one location that we can go to if we've already sent something, rather than, again, going back into email and digging through our emails. Okay, so that is a transmittals tab. And then the last feature on here, so there is an insight module. Okay, this one's shared by all of the different BIM 360 modules, but when I go to select that, so it takes me to a different page on BIM 360 where we have a dashboard so we can track issues on the project, design trends, approval reviews, and so forth. But we also have the reports tab. So the reports tab allows us to create reports of issues on the project, either a summary or a detail view of the issue. So we create the report, we pick which format we want for the report. Let's say it's detail, and then we select, and then we run the report. And then the report can either be exported out as a PDF or as an Excel file in the format that we saw on the PowerPoint. So here we can run, it will run the report, also track everything through here, and then we can export it out. So kind of going through the process, if I pick any, going through the process, but just to kind of look at what that looks like in actual, let me go back here. Okay, so this image is an example of what could be exported out. So it lists out the issues. If there were any images or pictures attached to that issue, that is also included. The information on the issue, the location, and then the image down at the bottom. Okay, so you would see that for all of the different issues on the project. Okay, and then the last feature, so if I go to Windows Explorer, so the desktop connector, this is installed by each user, and you can find it once installed under this PC, and it looks like this. So it's BIM 360, and this is our folder, our local folder that syncs back up to our BIM 360 site. So let me go ahead and sign in here. And then once signed in, we would see any hubs, any BIM 360 hubs that we are a part of, any projects. So let me go into right here. We see any projects that we're a part of. We can open up a project. See that one right there. See the different folders in that project, and we can get to those folders. So for non-Revit models, non-Revit cloud models, we can drag and drop files through here. Then again, for those using design and collaborating on a Revit cloud model, that cloud model needs to get uploaded from the Revit interface. Let us know if that's something that you will be needing. We do have other webinars that might show that workflow, or we have some training options as well. Okay, so that is a desktop connector. It works similar to a Dropbox, a local Dropbox folder. That is an option. It's also a way for those using Revit for linking in non-Revit files into your Revit model, like CAD backgrounds, Keynote files, and so forth. And then the last part here, so let me switch back. So because it is a cloud platform, we are able to access BIM 360 with our mobile devices. So if you're using an iPhone or an Android, the BIM 360 app is free, and we can download this through either the Apple App Store or the Google Play Store. We can use the app, sign in, and we can view documents that have been uploaded to our BIM 360 projects, as well as view any issues, markups, and so forth, regardless of location. So as long as you have a internet connection or a Wi-Fi connection. All right. Okay, so just to go through the different features that we talked about. So we looked at BIM 360 as a way to set up your project, set up your project folder structures, and add members to those projects and set the permission levels for those different members. We also looked at the tools native to BIM 360 that we can use for sharing, viewing, and reviewing documents. So we have version control that keeps records of the different versions of a specific file or document. We have our browser that we can use to view these documents regardless of what kind of document. We do not need the authoring software. We can view it on BIM 360. So that would be typical for your typical working files. We have our markups and our issues tool that we can use on BIM 360 for creating and for tracking these as well. The compare documents tool for looking at the different changes between one version and another. And then we looked at the reviews tool, the transmittals tool for sharing and keeping records of documents transmitted, the Insight Reports tool for creating your reports of issues created in the project, and then lastly, the desktop connector. And so if you have seats of BIM 360 document management or design that you may have used at some point, but and still have access to it, and you're needing to collaborate with your team remotely, this definitely would be one